Welcome to Taiwan Talk. I'm Sheree Felice, and this week I am joined by Alec and Alex from Taipei Bike Tours. Listen in as we discuss the benefits of seeing a city from the back of a bike and some of the hidden gems around Taipei. Okay, so can you explain to me what is Taipei Bike Tours?
Our goal for Taipei Bike Tours is to show people that maybe aren't so familiar with Taiwan how awesome Taiwan is. We find a lot of people are coming to Taipei for a very short time, or maybe they're coming to Taipei like not willingly. Taoyuan Airport is one that is used a lot for transfers, and so people are coming for a very short time, maybe somewhere else in Asia. They have to stop by in Taiwan or Taipei, and maybe they're adventurous. They want to get out for a day. They don't have much time, so in like 4 hours or 8 hours, we show them around, and our goal is to show them how awesome Taiwan is, how awesome Taipei is, and maybe somebody that's unfamiliar with Taiwan and Taipei can become familiar with it in a short time.
What brought this idea about? How did it get into your heads that you wanted to do this?
Well, first started out as kind of a side gig. Alex and I, we had been here previously on motorcycle trips, and we enjoyed the feeling of like exploring and seeing new things and getting to know a different culture. And we wanted to try and share that feeling with a lot of other people that would come here. So a lot of Alex's family came around, a lot of my friends came around, and before we knew it, we were kind of doing this thing almost every week to other people, and then people started to pay us. And so the side gig became more than a side gig to the point where now it's a full-time job, and it's just been growing ever since.
So how long did it take to go from being a side gig to becoming a full-time job?
I'd say about 6 months. And then it's just been exponentially growing since then. We just got an office about 4 months ago. So that was the next step.
Okay, so why don't you tell me some of the major places you bring people around to?
Yeah. So some of the major places we go to would be, of course, the Chiang Kai-shek Memorial Hall. We also take them to Taipei 101. We go to the Dihua Street, and they can sample, the snacks and the herbal medicine and the teas. We take them on the Riverside Bike Path, so they learn a lot about how accessible the Taipei cycling system is, and they learn about the public transport. We also take them to the Grand Hotel, to the base of that, so they can kind of see that. They also see from the other side of the Keelung Riverside, they see the Taipei skyline.
To add, some of these spots are kind of the classic spots to see in Taipei. The difference, though, getting on a bicycle, you see the places in between what is accessible by public transportation. So seeing the classic sites, I think there's some value in that, right? But it would be maybe a bit of a boring day if you just go to the classic sites only, right? So there's really good cycling infrastructure in Taipei with like the designated cycling paths, and we use that when we can. And now I think the government is claiming over 500 kilometers of these cycling paths. But when we go to these classic sites and stuff like that, sometimes we'll use the cycling paths, but sometimes we will not. We will use instead like a pedestrian path, or the side of a road, whatever is appropriate. And then that way people can see the places in between, like, a small neighborhood in Wanhua district. I don't think many people would make their way like into that type of area, but it's important to see. And then later on in the day, they'll see the very opposite of that, like maybe the most wealthy area near Taipei 101. So that's the advantages of using a bicycle. You can go a lot of places in a short time. You don't get as tired as walking, and you're not kind of stuck with the infrastructure that is built around public transportation. That is not quite as genuine of an experience, I think.
Okay. How long did you two live in Taipei before you started this?
I've been in Taipei for about 3 years. And he came along.
Getting close to 2 years now.
Yeah, 2 years now.
Okay, so before you started this, did you have an interest in the backgrounds of each site and the history of going into each site? Or after you started this, did you tell yourself, oh, okay, now that we're taking people to major sites in Taipei, we have to educate ourselves?
For myself, a combination of both. I think maybe one of the things that helps us is, or myself at least, is that at one point I was relatively unfamiliar with Taiwan too, and I kind of didn't know much of what's going on. I think it's a common scenario for people in the West. Maybe they hear Taiwan occasionally. They don't really know what's going on. What is this small island? So like that lack of knowledge made me interested in it, and then I educated myself, reading and going around. Both of us like to spend a lot of time on motorcycles, so we've ridden around a lot of Taiwan, and just seeing that just spurs your interest more. Then later, start doing this full time, and then it's more necessary to become, exceptionally knowledgeable.
So when people sign up for a tour, do you automatically pick the places and organize the tour for them, or can they personalize it and choose where they want to go?
Yeah, so we have 2 set tours. We have a morning and an all day, and they are set places and a set, route. And then depending on their wants and needs, they'll let us know like, hey, we want a private tour. Hey, we're not too interested in temples. And in some cases, in the middle of the tour, we'll kind of read the people and be like, hey, do you want to look at more of the shopping and the touristy areas, or do you want to kind of go to the back alleys and kind of, go to the mom and pop shop breakfast areas? Yeah. And we can change dynamically per request.
Are you guys the tour guides?
Generally, I am. Alec will come along sometimes, depending on the group size. Yeah, Alec normally focuses more on like the back end stuff, websites and booking and stuff like that, social media, whereas I'm like kind of the front end. I'm usually the face that people see and interact with day to day, but there's a mixture of both those things between us.
Do you speak Chinese?
A little, a constant challenge, and constantly trying to grow and become better. Yeah.
Is most of your clientele international?
Most of our clients are somewhere from the West. A lot of times these are Europeans or Americans living in Asia, and maybe they just have like a weekend trip in Taipei or a business meeting here, or it's somebody, for instance, we just had a guest, yesterday, going to Thailand from America. There's not any direct flights that I'm aware of from America to Thailand, so they needed to stop in Taiwan. And then they took advantage of being here to ride along with us for 4 hours.
Okay, so a half-day tour, how long is that?
Yeah, about 4 hours. Sometimes it'll run a little bit later. If people are loose with their time, I'm happy to go a little bit longer with them. Yeah.
And a full-day tour is how long?
8 hours.
8 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you name the prices of each one?
It's a bit dynamic based off of the season and if it's a private ride or not. I don't know, Alec, that's more of his.
Yeah, so the basic 4-hour tour is 1,800 NT at the current time, and the 8-hour is 2,900.
And that's for a group of how many?
That's a maximum group of 6 people.
And so that price you gave me is per person?
Yes.
Okay.
That's going to include, of course, having this personalized ride. The bicycles that we use, I think they're pretty good quality bicycles that manufactured here in Taiwan. You know of Giant, this is a massive manufacturer, but we have some pretty nice aluminum framed city bikes to ride around. I think it's a good experience. We're trying to offer a premium experience so people can kind of turn their brain off and have like a quality thing. I think some people, especially visitors from the West, they're used to maybe some bit of luxury, so they kind of want that, but at the same time they want to do this exploring and have a little bit of a gritty experience, which we do in some ways, but at the same time we're certainly catering to them, right? So we're trying to make sure that they feel like they're really getting their money's worth, right? So we're going to provide them food and drink and all these things along the ride and stop for some nice coffee and try to give them some surprises along the way too.
Okay, so you provide them food, you provide them lunch?
Yes, yeah. We'll for the all day we'll stop for breakfast and lunch, yeah, and just the 4 hour then we'll simply go to traditional breakfast shop and share some items. Hopefully they can get a nice experience of some foods they haven't had before.
So now that your business is running full-time, do you have tours every day?
Just about. We're open every day. We're happy to ride every day. Some weeks that happens where we have people for 7 days in a row. It depends on the weather, right? So some people will book in advance and we have some notice, and even if it's a rainy day we're going to go out with them as long as they're willing to ride, which I think most people are. If there's somebody that's happy to ride a bicycle in a new city, then normally rain's not going to deter them, but some people do book like within 12 hours, and in that case the weather's going to make it less likely for somebody to book.
So let me ask you, if people call you and they say, all right, we've been to Taipei already, can you do a tour in another city in Taiwan? Have you guys done that yet?
No, we haven't been able to figure out the logistics to do that for different cities. Right now, we have only established ourselves in Taipei. It would take us some time to figure out the popular spots. We'd have to talk to some local restaurants and kind of figure out what's best and what highlights that city to make it.
In the future, I mean, that's certainly something that we'd be interested, but right now we're focusing on Taipei. Yeah.
Okay, now that you guys are experts in the tour industry, if someone is coming to Taipei for a few days, what are some essential spots that you would say people need to visit?
Oh man, it's going to depend on the person.
Yeah.
Right? Many people are interested in all different types of things. And to add also, the weather would determine that. If someone's here for 3 days and not a long time, and those 3 days are going to be rainy days, then there's some things like, you're not going to go to the top of Taipei 101 on a rainy day. It's probably not worth your time. But yeah, there's some places I really encourage people to get outside of the city center, so I think that's good. Taipei is a wonderful city, but it's not a good example of Taiwan as a whole. So spending a little bit of time outside the city, I think is definitely worth their time. There's some easy access spots like that get you just to the edge of Taipei, kind of like maybe breaking into New Taipei a bit. You can, of course, go to the north, get close to the ocean. There's the North Coast. This is a popular place to go to, all the spots kind of along the North Coast. That's good if you're going to do that. And that's people that are more active, right? You can go hiking or whatever. I think there's a handful of places that are worthy of doing that. It's like easy transportation access for everybody. But people that are staying within the city, I guess it depends if they visited before or not. Like if you've never been to Taipei before, then going to, one of the more famous night markets would be worth your time. But if you've done that before, then maybe you can go somewhere a little bit more off the beaten path and maybe venture into some other areas. It really depends on the person. We kind of try to get to know people, and then depending on how long they're here, by the end of the day, if we do like an 8-hour ride with someone, I think they end up having like a pretty good idea, like their next couple days, if they haven't planned it out.
Okay.
Then, we help them do that. Yeah.
Do you feel the same way, Alec?
Yeah, just like he said, it's all dependent on the weather, the type of person, and the time of the year. Because if it's summer, we're not going to recommend all the hiking trails. If it's wintertime, we want them to go outside more. You're not going to want to go do shopping too much. It's like a prime time to kind of be outside. So I recommend a lot of people to try and get outside of Taipei. Just like Alex said, Taipei is not a representation of all of Taiwan. So maybe check out Yangmingshan, some hiking trails over there. Check out either the Ximending or Xinyi shopping area. And then I would also probably include maybe some hot springs in Beitou. I think those three things together would be able to appeal to just about anybody.
All right. So if people want to find out more information about you guys or book a tour or ask you guys any questions that they might have, how do they contact you?
You guys can find us at TaipeiBikeTours.com. We are also the #1 listing on TripAdvisor. And we're also on Get Your Guide, Expedia, all the other travel agencies. Or you can just stop by at our office. We're number 300 Mingshan West Road, Datan District, right by Dihua Street. And Instagram. Yeah, Instagram.
What's your Instagram name?
Taipei Bike Tours.
Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for this week's episode of Taiwan Talk. I'd like to thank Alec and Alex again for joining me. Don't forget to tune in next week for an all-new episode. As always, remember to take care of yourselves. I'm Sheree Felice.